Good morning. I'm Buck Myre, president of 42 Strong.
I'm Scott Claxton. I'm the program director at 42 Strong.
Thank you, Representative Colazar, for having us. Good morning, everybody. 42 Strong was created 2 weeks after the Oxford High School shooting that took place on November 30th, 2021, to honor our son, Tate Myre, who was stolen from us on that tragic day. Hannah St. Juliana, Justin Schilling, and Madison Baldwin were also stolen from us. 7 others were shot, and a whole school was terrorized. I'd like to take a moment to talk about my son, Tate, the heartbeat of 42 Strong. Tate was an incredible young man who believed in an ancient, selfless concept. Pour yourself into others and create a we are all in this together culture. Tate was a natural, selfless leader. Tate was a mentor to his peers. Tate loved his family fiercely and was never too cool to hang out with me or his mom, Sherry, or take advice from his older brothers, Trent and Ty. Tate was fearless, but not in the way our society defines fearless these days. He was never afraid to take risk or stand up for what was right in fear of being judged or in fear of retribution. Tate was never afraid to be judged by his peers. Tate had an incredibly profound impact on everybody he came into touch with. Tate inspired us to act on this innate trait of selflessness and togetherness to drive much-needed change in our world. With that, we decided to start our peer mentoring foundation, 42 Strong. Our slogan for 42 Strong is Trust, Love, Build. And I want to talk about that slogan. On a cold, rainy Friday fall night, after a round 1 playoff win over Clarkston, Tate was interviewed on the field by a local media outlet. The interviewer asked him to talk about his thoughts on the game and the season turnaround after starting 1-3. He said this: "In the rain, this is where we live. Rain is just like Oxford football. Tough, muddy. Everything about us is tough. We didn't quit. We came back. We grinded. Worked every day. We trust each other. We love each other. And we just started building week by week. And here we are." Let's take a minute and talk about these impactful words from a 16-year-old young man who was wise beyond his years. Trust. You can't get anything done without trusting each other. It's the foundation of our country, of our world. It's the foundation. Trust. Love. Love is shown by looking out for each other and our community. We have each other's backs. Building. This is the easy part. This is what happens when trust is earned and we love each other. What our family wants is for no other family to be engulfed in the hell that we are going through. We want evidence-based legislation implemented that will address the underlying upstream well-being issues our kids are faced with today. With that, I want to hand it over to Scott Claxton, our program director, to talk about what we have learned from our research and what we are advocating for.
Thanks, Buck. Good morning, everybody. So our program is a peer mentoring program in the Oxford community. The first year of our program was, again, right after November 30th. We had 250 kids in our first year. This year, we now have 450 kids in our program, all from the Oxford community. We're doing what we can in our community to make a difference. I want to share some things we've learned about school violence on our journey through our program. In 2010, there were 15 school shootings nationwide. In 2023, 340 are projected if we remain on the same pace. We've learned that the path to suicide and homicide are paved with depression, anxiety, and loneliness. We've learned that the path to suicide and homicide are essentially the same path with a small fork at the end. According to the 2021 U.S. Surgeon General's advisory, high school students reporting persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness increased by 40% from 2009 to 2019. An even more damning statistic is during the same period, students seriously considering suicide increased by 36%. As of 2019, nearly 37% of high school students reporting having persistent feelings of loneliness, which is a 97% increase since 2012. This trend is not going away. We can all wish that these statistics were not true, but they are. Hope is not a course of action. Some information from the Violence Project that I'd like to share. 87% of school shooters were in a noticeable state of crisis prior to the event. Only 30% of these folks had previous mental health counseling of any kind, and only 5% of all mass shootings are related to severe mental illness. 78% of school shooters leak their plan in advance, and 80% are suicidal prior to an incident. 46% had some sort of school disciplinary record, and 91% are current or former students. It's always almost an inside job. And the number one symptom, typically speaking, is a sudden change of behavior from the individual baseline. I say that to say this. These statistics give us the clues we need for schools to begin dealing with the problem they are now faced with. They didn't ask for it, but here it is. The world has changed and continues to do so. Our schools must respond, own, and adapt to these changes. Our legislature must implement comprehensive, systematic, ongoing responses to this new reality. Again, it's not going away. Our advocacy positions are based on evidence-based practices. These are things in our research that we believe can move the needle and tie directly back to the statistics that I just mentioned. The first is implementation of peer mentoring programs. The second is the implementation of well-being surveys. The third is school safety and support software, and I'll address each of these individually. The first, peer mentoring programs. According to the CDC and Mentor.org, mentoring serves as a critical violence prevention strategy by offering flexible, broad support to young people on a wide variety of their needs. I can share that we've seen this firsthand as we've worked to rebuild the Oxford community. We are advocating for funding for both school-based and community-based organizations that serve this need. Number two, well-being surveys and corresponding interventions. Conducting regular well-being surveys can greatly benefit schools by providing them valuable data on students' mental health and well-being needs. This information allows schools to identify where targeted interventions are necessary, prioritize limited resources, and ensure that students receive the support that they require. The surveys of all staff and students are supported by the American Psychological Association, the National Center for Education Statistics, the National Institute for Mental Health, the Center for Health and Healthcare in Schools, and the U.S. Department of Education. We are advocating for the statewide adoption of well-being surveys administered bi-monthly and for the resulting information to be used by counseling staff to make appropriate interventions. Lastly, student safety and support software. Significant causes for concern that a student's entering crisis are departure from their personal baselines. As mentioned before, 80% of students that end up causing violence, suicide, or homicide are in crisis. So significant cause for concern are students' departure from their personal baselines in attendance, behavior, participation in activities, a disciplinary record, as well as educator observations. These indicate the increased likelihood of entering crisis. This is our time to get involved early. The ability exists now to provide our school mental health staff tools to intervene when crisis starts. We must make these interventions as early as possible to address the underlying upstream well-being problems that lead to homicide or suicide, or just kids having a bad go, right? That's important. We are advocating for the research into the appropriate software package, evaluation, selection. This would include funding and personnel for schools to adopt and implement. So in summary, our advocacy positions are peer mentoring programs, number one, well-being surveys, number two, and school safety and support software, number three. Lastly, we must act now and have the foresight and commitment to sustain this effort. Long-term challenges demand long-term thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you. Oh, sorry.
Yep, one more quick thing, sorry. While working on these bills, we have some requests. You all should have a Trust, Love, Build bracelet in front of you. Please wear that to keep Oxford, our kids' well-being, Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison at the forefront. Second, we are all accountable to create a better future for the kids in this state. We are doing something at 42 Strong. What are you going to do? Remember Tate's words, trust, love, build. Build trust by working with each other in good faith. Show love and care for our kids in this great state through your actions and how you can work together to get this done. Work together to build a safer, brighter future for our kids. 4, be fearless, just like Tate was. Have tough conversations with each other. Be uncomfortable and work through it for our kids. Lastly, if another school shooting took place tomorrow, how would we feel about the lack of progress since the Oxford shooting? The clock is ticking. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Mr. Myre, I don't have to tell you that there's so many people across the state that you have never met whose thoughts have never left you in the Oxford community. And I just want to also commend you on turning this into advocacy as well. It takes a great amount of courage, and thank you for being here again. We do have one question. I'm going to limit it to one only because we do have several groups still that wish to testify. So Representative Green.
Well, and I thank you again. I echo the chair's comments. So I can get right to my question. You, Mr. Claxton, you gave some really statistics that I've never heard before, and I think it's really important that that's distributed. Would you be able to have access to those statistics that you shared?
So there's a document that was distributed this morning that has information on our organization. Many of those statistics are in there. The ones that are not in there can be found in going to theviolenceproject.org, who have done the most research and statistical analysis of school shootings.
Thank you.
And then additionally, please reach out to me and I will point you in the direction of all of this. And anybody that has further questions, we'd like to stay involved. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time and for being here. Mr. Myre, do you have a point?
Yeah, lastly, we got some posters here. I'm not sure if I got enough for everybody, but I think we got 12 or 13 there. If you could take one, we'll put them over there, and I'll put it up in your office. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.